The Godzilla franchise has been going strong for decades, but Godzilla Minus One is easily among the biggest hits of the long-running film series in recent times. The Japanese production company Toho has enjoyed great success in the West with Godzilla Minus One, and the movie ends on a cliffhanger, or what you can call a sequel tease. The epic showdown in the film and the final few moments have prompted the fans to wonder about the possibility of a sequel in the near future, and in this video, we will bring you everything there is to know about the chances of a Godzilla Minus One sequel. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Will there be a Godzilla Minus One sequel? You can sit and debate over whether Godzilla Minus One is the best movie of 2023, but there is no denying the fact that the movie reignited the craze for the iconic monster. The massive success and widespread appreciation have sent the rumor mills running overtime, scanning for speculations regarding the possibility of a sequel. While there hasn't been any official confirmation yet, it wouldn't be a risky assumption to consider that Toho wouldn't let the craze behind the franchise go to waste after such a promising hit. The movie was made on a relatively modest budget of $15 million, and the earnings have been overwhelming to say the least, setting new records. The director, Takashi Yamazaki, has shared some positive insights in this discussion, and he hasn't shied away from his desire to create more going ahead. He spoke about how passionate he has been about the Godzilla movie, and how he has felt a sense of loneliness after the completion. Yamakaze suggested that he would be willing to add further to the Godzilla universe, and he said that he would be open to working on a sequel project as well as a fresh Godzilla movie. With great business for Godzilla Minus One, the optimistic approach by the director, and the demand from the fans, you might be led into thinking that a sequel is just around the corner. However, we would advise you to hold your horses on this one. Toho has been smart and calculative about weighing the options of a sequel, and they surely wouldn't be hurrying their way into one. The producer, Minami Ichikawa, revealed in an interview that the film's team does not plan to rush things regarding the future of Godzilla. He further added, "Good films are all about quality. We want great ideas, an excellent script, a talented director, and the right cast to work on it carefully." This is actually a great approach, and something that the Hollywood flicks could take a leaf out of. Overall, the possibility of a sequel to Godzilla Minus One seems great, but it would take its own sweet time, and the fans would expect nothing short of the kind of brilliance that we witnessed here. How does Godzilla Minus One shape up for a sequel? In order to understand what the sequel to Godzilla Minus One might look like, let us first take a quick look at how the story unfolds in the movie. The narrative is premised towards the end of the Second World War, and we are introduced to Koichi Shikishima, a Japanese kamikaze pilot. He is accused of being a coward and fleeing from his duty by his lead mechanic, Tachibana. And when the gigantic Godzilla attacks their garrison, Shikishima fails to be a hero yet again and is knocked unconscious. He somehow survives the attack along with Tachibana, and he returns home to Tokyo, only to find that his parents have been killed in the bombing of the city. A guilty Shikishima starts a new life with a woman named Noriko and an abandoned baby, Akiko. He also works as a minesweeper, and soon his crew faces the mighty Godzilla once again. They fail to destroy the monster, and later Godzilla attacks Ginza, a place where Noriko used to work. After she is presumed dead, Shikishima vows vengeance, and after an extensive planning by the Japanese forces, he gets the opportunity to fly an explosive-charged aircraft straight into Godzilla's mouth. The elaborate plan works, or so you are made to think for the time being, and Shikishima even manages to eject just in time, with the explosion seemingly killing Godzilla. Later, he is reunited with Noriko, who is recovering in the hospital, and it looks like Shikishima has finally made amends for his previous cowardice. The movie has an open-ended narrative, and the climax highlights the fact that the gigantic beast cannot be killed by ordinary means. The near-immortal Godzilla can be seen regenerating slowly as the movie ends, and there are several ways for the story to be taken forward. Noriko could somehow be linked to Godzilla. This might sound like a far-fetched possibility, but hear us out. The fact that she has survived a deadly Godzilla onslaught is nothing short of a miracle. Towards the end of the movie, she can be seen battered and bruised, but slowly recovering in a hospital. There are some noticeable deep black marks on her neck, which could be signs of a potential radiation poisoning. Exposure to Godzilla's radioactive and nuclear energy can have such effects, and she could be far from getting back to good health. On the other hand, the possibility of Noriko somehow being linked to Godzilla cannot be discounted. Her new mutated form might contain parts of Godzilla's genetics, and this could be the reason behind her miraculous recovery and survival in the first place. Besides, it is worth noticing that the right side of her face is injured, just like Godzilla sustained injuries to the right side of his face. The sequel could very well go ahead with the idea of Noriko somehow acquiring Godzilla's regenerative healing, or worse still, mutating slowly into a Godzilla-human hybrid. If the next movie explores such story arcs, it might be heartbreaking for the protagonist, who would lose it all after a seemingly happy ending in Godzilla Minus One. The makers could even take this a step further and turn everyone who has been exposed to the radiation into hybrid, inhuman monsters. What might sound like an outrageous idea might just end up being an exciting premise for a sequel. Could the sequel bring more monsters into the mix? The only thing better than watching Godzilla on screen is the inclusion of other monsters to team up with or face off against the creature. If Toho wants to capitalize on the momentum created by Godzilla Minus One, they might just bring in a sequel featuring other powerful monsters who are almost as iconic as Godzilla. While monsters like Mothra can be introduced as an ally for Godzilla, it would be more fun to watch him square up against some monstrous opponents. King Caesar, who is regarded as a guardian monster from the citizens of Okinawa, might be brought in to oppose Godzilla when the monster sets out to destroy Japan all over again. Hedorah, the alien kaiju powered by environmental pollution, might also be a worthy opponent for Godzilla, and someone like Mechagodzilla can also be brought in to challenge the mighty kaiju. What if the sequel is a standalone story? A sequel doesn't always have to mean direct continuity, and Godzilla Minus One might take a similar route. The director has expressed that he is fine with the idea of leaving open-ended climaxes up for interpretation, without the need to simply take them further in a sequel. The successor to Godzilla Minus One might simply take the characters from the movie and throw them in a new situation, unrelated to the events of the first movie. New characters can also be introduced who would take up the challenge of dealing with a regenerated Godzilla. As long as the sequel happens, we don't mind which route it takes. What would a Godzilla Minus One sequel mean for the franchise? At this point, it is too early to confirm a sequel, and there have been a few indications suggesting that the project might take some time to be readied, even if the green light is given. However, statistically speaking, a sequel would mark a significant departure from the Godzilla franchise's trends in the recent past. The Japanese live-action Godzilla movies have largely been standalone independent projects in the last 2 decades, and the last time we had a direct sequel was back in 2003, when Godzilla Tokyo SOS was released. Of course, records and historical stats are meant to be broken, and the past will certainly not be a roadblock if the makers do decide to go ahead with a sequel. More than being concerned about how soon a sequel will be announced and released, we should be focused more on the quality of the sequel. If they decide to go ahead with the project, departing from the franchise norms, they would set a new trend and also take care to ensure that the upcoming sequel is going to be an unforgettable experience. When will the Godzilla Minus One sequel be released? With the law of probability and logic on their side, the fans aren't being overly optimistic in expecting a sequel in the future. We have already spoken about how the sequel will take time if it does take place, and we expect it to be at least a couple of years. If you consider that the project will be given a go-ahead by the end of 2024, you can expect at least a year for filming and production to be completed. Thus, if we do have a sequel, don't expect it before the end of 2025 or sometime in 2026. As long as the movie is worth the wait, we are sure that the fans won't be complaining. Do let us know in the comments below about your thoughts on the Godzilla Minus One movie and the possibilities of a sequel to follow. Also, tell us about your ideas and speculations regarding the plot route that might be taken by a sequel project if the makers go ahead with one. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
守ってやりたい。